Early in the morning, my time, on the 21st of July, Tesla released their quarter two earnings report. And to summarize it, it would be the best worst report. So you can download this off the ir.tesla.com website. And basically, in summary, it showed that they had an $800 million increase in cash to take the total cash reserves up to $18.3 billion. And also June saw the highest ever production at the Fremont and Shanghai factories, and that was the highest production in Tesla's history, and that makes the rest of the second half of 2022 could be a really good one. They've also got new factories in Berlin and Texas starting to ramp up, and Berlin managed to reach 1,000 cars in a week. So that's going ahead nicely. Gradually, the Texas will continue to ramp up and reach that milestone. They also sold about 75% of their Bitcoin holdings during the quarter, which actually added 936 million in cash to the balance sheet. But the remaining Bitcoin holdings had to be downgraded to their lowest value during the quarter, and that put in a slight loss there. And that's just the tax rules in the US. So you've got to remember that Tesla is not just a car company, but an energy company as well. And they've had the highest solar deployment over the last quarter that they have seen in their history. 106 megawatts of solar were deployed. Sorry, that's the highest for a number of years. With the increasing output of both Shanghai and Fremont, and the ramping up of Berlin and Texas, they're focused on a record-breaking second half of 2022. And despite the closures and supply constraints they have endured, they're still hoping to maintain their 50% growth year on year. With the financial summary, whilst the figures for quarter two were lower quarter on quarter, when you compare them year on year, they've actually gone up 43% compared to quarter two 2021, which is still reasonable despite all the closures. And they also had a 14.6% operating margin, which was higher than analysts expected. Previously announced, their production figures were 258,580 vehicles, and they sold 254,695. The other thing that they did was to increase the number of supercharger stations by almost 250. So, hey, Elon, can we have some of those over here in Western Australia, pretty please? Vehicle capacity has increased. The Model S and X is still hovering at the 100,000 at Fremont. So they're currently doing about 16,500 or 16,000 a quarter, and that would equate to about 60 to 70,000 per year. So there's still a bit of expansion to go there. The Model 3 and Y production capacity at Fremont has increased from 700 to 550,000. Now, if I just go back to the previous quarter, that was 500,000. And Shanghai has gone up to 750,000 from 450,000. And Shanghai, that will actually be closer to 1 to 1.1 million. But I think they're doing a bit of a conservative estimate here. And with Berlin and Texas ramping up, they've put in figures here of 250,000 before it was early ramp. You can expect these two places to get up close to what Shanghai is doing, with probably around 1 million vehicles as it ramps up, but don't expect that for about a year. So if you take all these figures together, you've got 657, 1.4, 1.9 million capacity there for next year. Now, in order to maintain their 50% growth, they need to make around about the 1.4 million vehicles, which is still possible, but they've got to do about 840,000 during the second half of this year. And as you can see here, this is their market share by region. So this blue line here is USA and Canada, and that's really sort of almost an exponential growth. The red one is Europe. Because of the shutdown in Shanghai, they've had difficulty getting vehicles over to Europe because that's where they came from. But China is still on the way up. So things are definitely on the way up for Tesla. And then if you look at their full self-driving, as at the end of Q2, they have over 100,000 Tesla drivers in North America who've got access to FSD beta. And the cumulative miles driven is 35 million, or just over. And that's just over 56 million kilometers. They are hoping to release this software firstly in Europe next, and then a rollout to several other countries. I'm ever hopeful that Australia will be in there sometime soon. The other thing here is this is the number of robots in each factory. So for the Model S in Fremont, they've got a lot of robots. For the Model 3, they cut it down. And the Model Y, they've almost halved it. But look at Model Y in Austin and Berlin. Giga Texas, Giga Berlin. They've got almost half again. So the cost of manufacturing has gone down, and the speed of manufacturing will go up because it's far less complicated. At the end of their report, they also usually include a few pictures, and this was the 2 millionth vehicle to come out of the Fremont factory since it was started. This is the Model Y General Assembly in Berlin and the Model Y paint shop, because they're only making Model Ys in Berlin and Texas at the moment. As you can see here, the solar panels are going up on the roof of Giga Texas, and they're going to spell out Tesla. And then the whole of the rest of the roof will be covered in the solar panels, except for those letters. And that can be seen from the air. So Austin Airport is not all that far away. And so flying in or out of Austin Airport, people will be able to see Tesla written on the roof there. So that's basically a bit of free advertising, and they're getting a lot of power generation from it. The body shop in Giga Texas. This is the exterior of Giga Shanghai, and they're planning on increasing the size of that General Assembly. The other interesting thing was that with the vision only system that they've got, they can do a seatbelt tensioning system that doesn't wait to detect the crash. It actually sees a crash about to happen and tensions the seatbelt. And that is almost certainly going to be saving some lives. So after the report, there was the usual Q&A session. And some of the questions were, what the hell? Some were okay. But the first question that was asked was, how will Tesla stay ahead of the Chinese EV makers? And Elon replied in a very good sarcastic tone, Tesla is the best Chinese EV maker. But he had a lot of respect for the others. He also said that the Cybertruck will start production in the middle of next year, 2023. Now, it was supposed to be a bit earlier on in the year, so he's pushed that back a little bit. He also stated that they had managed to hit 30,000 vehicles per week production, which is about 1.5 million a year. And he was hoping that by the end of the year, they would peak at about 40,000 vehicles per week, which is 2 million a year. So if he's going to grow at 50%, it was just over 900,000. That's got to go to almost 1.4 and then over 2 million for 2023, the end of. He said that he's hoping to reach that sort of figure, providing there's no force majeure that comes along to upset the apple cart, just like it has in the past, COVID. He was also encouraging entrepreneurs to get into the lithium mining or lithium refining business, as the demand for lithium is growing exponentially. And the price for the lithium has gone from $11 a kilogram to $80 a kilogram, whereas a lot of the other commodities, iron and so on, have gone down. So there's a lot of potential if anybody feels like going out and starting a lithium refining business. We've got a big mine down here south of where I am in a place called Greenbushes that's producing, I think it's the world's largest producer of lithium. So setting up a lithium refining bit around here mightn't be a bad idea. So despite the fact that Q2 was severely affected by shutdowns, supply constraints, etc. due to COVID, these earnings results were actually very good. So the future does look good for the second half of this year. Even the Tesla share price has gone up after the report. Usually it sort of goes a bit down and then a while later goes back up, but it's gone up. It was, the last time I looked, over $800 US per share. And not a week ago, it was down below 700. So I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, etc. But I'm so glad I've got my Tesla shares, which I bought at a lot less than that. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons below. It costs you nothing, but it does help the channel. See you all soon.